Okay.
This meeting is being recorded.
All right. So, okay, got it. All right, so what we're talking about today is the court fees. And the court fees, there are three court fees that you have to pay. So we went to the High Court and we got struck out, and then we appealed that, and the appeals court had said to the Aradan group that they must come to the court, and we're waiting. Once you file them the notice, you have to wait for 10 days for them to announce if they're going to come or if they're not going to come. So we're waiting for that announcement. It will come in a few days. If they announce that they're not going to come, then the whole process will continue without them. So it doesn't matter whether they're there or not. This will go forward. So, and then the court has said to them, if you decide that you don't want to be there, then you will not get any of the
court papers,
documents. You'll have absolutely no say in how this plays out. So it turns out usually that it's better for them to be there. Okay. So that is something that we'll have to discuss. I must make a note of about whether I should ask that question. Hang on. I'll just write this down so I don't forget. For the Chesterfield, right? That'll do it. So, I want to talk to you about the court fees. When you originally go to the High Court, the cost is $500, and you can either pay the $500 or you can ask for a fee waiver. If your case is in the public interest, then you will get the fee waiver. We did not ask for the fee waiver, but in hindsight, I should have. The fee waiver, and then if you lose the case and you've got the fee waiver, you don't even have to pay for the case. So I ended up with a $2,700 payment that I have to pay to them because I lost the case. But if I went on the appeal, I think I'd get that money back, I think. And so, but my case was the Human Rights Act, Section 5 KII, that says that New Zealand will be bound to any international instruments in the entire world. And I think that is a very serious law. So that was the one that I went. The second one that we're doing is S28 of the 1990 Bill of Rights, says that all other rights are exempt from the mandates made from the 1990s. So that would exempt you all from the COVID health response mandates, because under S28, you are exempted from any law that comes out of there. So that's going to be a big thing. So today we're looking at then when you go to the appeals court, the fee waiver, the entry fee is $1,100. I'm just letting people know who in the future want to go. So the entry fee is $1,100. But if you show that it's in the public interest, you can apply for a fee waiver. And so, and then if you apply for the second one after that is that by the 19th of July, I have to pay $7,000 for a security fee. The security fee is that they estimated my case, so each case is going to be different, but they estimated my case at $7,000 security fee. And what happens is, if you lose the case, that $7,000 is used to pay the various parties. So that's the guarantee that it's going to be paid. But if you get the fee waiver, that means that they've got $7,000 to spend on you that's come from the government. And so the lawyers can do any work that they want up to the amount of $7,000. And the lawyers know that they're not allowed to go over the $7,000. So it's kind of an allocation that this case is going to cost around about $7,000 to go to the court. So I think that's quite good. I think when you're taking 4 top ministers to the court, I think it's not too bad. So I've got a wee budget for that. I'm hoping that I don't have to pay, but I have got that set aside in my husband's retirement fund if I need it. And then the next fee waiver that you're going to have is you have a scheduling fee. The scheduling fee is that you get in touch with their lawyers and you say to them, this is how much time I think that I want to have for my case. I can ask for 1 day, I can ask for 2 days, I can ask for 1 hour. So it's going to be, that's up to me, what I want to do in my case. And then I can also say to them, if I want to have 3 judges or I want to have 5 judges, and we've all decided in our Oreo group for such a prestigious occasion that we should have 5 judges. So that's what we're going to be doing for that. And then, so what we've decided to do is to send in the $1,100 fee waiver first, and we're going to see if, and we've put in the fee waiver for the public interest, and we're going to see if it passes. And if it passes, then we know that the $7,000 one will pass and the $2,700 one will pass. But we know that if it doesn't pass, then I have to make up a brand new story for the next 2 fee waivers because I won't be getting them. So hopefully it'll pass. We're really hoping. Everybody say a little prayer for me. Okay, so we'll go to the reasons. I'll share the screen and we'll go to the reasons that we put that we wish to have our fee waiver. Okay, so I'll go to share screen. So here I'll go to the notice of filing first. So that is here. And so can you see my notice of filing? And on my notice of filing, you'll see that this is talk. I haven't put the respondent's name, but you should all know who they are by now. But it just says there that this is a notice of appearance and the respondents, the 4 respondents are required to come. And then it says that the respondent must file and serve a notice of appearance. They have to tell me that they're going to be responding to this, that they're going to be coming. They have to tell me that within 10 working days. And then I had to let the court know that they were served. Yes, they have been served. Yes, they have acknowledged their service papers. The appellant must promptly notify the registrar and file an affidavit proving that service of the notice of appeal in accordance. I haven't filed the affidavit. I'll make a note. I'll call them again. So I have to promptly file an affidavit to let them, the appeal court, know that I have sent the I've sent the service. So that is very good. But I think they know because I did send them a note that I have sent it and there has been an acknowledgement that it has been received. So that is a good thing. The next thing are the security costs that I just told you about of the $7,000, which must be made by the 19th of July. And then there's the application of fixture, which is that you're talking about the time. So the security cost is $7,000 by the 19th of July, which we can apply for a waiver for that. And then to apply for the allocation of the hearing for the fixture in writing and estimate the time of 1 hour or less, or 2 hours or less, a half day or a 1 day or more than 1 day, we can specify the days as we see fit. A brief statement of the issues likely to arise in the appeal, including whether a novel point of law or a challenge to the established authority is involved. Well, we will be making a challenge to the established authority, something we will be doing, and we will also be looking at a novel point of law. But they've been telling the common law people for the last 30 years that under the 1990 Bill of Rights, that they're not permitted to go to the they're not permitted to go to the court as a layman, and they're not permitted to go without a lawyer. And I'm saying that under the 1688 Bill of Rights, Protestant rights, and our right to protections and our right to petition, we don't have the right to petition the king anymore, so they say, but we have the right to petition the Supreme Court, and that is a right that can't be taken from us. They can't take that right from you. They can change it where you've still got the right and we've got the Supreme Court, but they can't take that from you. We've also got the Declaratory Judgment Act. So we've got those two things that are saying that we can go to the court without a lawyer, and we can do it for free if it's in the public interest, and if it's on a point of law about a law that they've made we don't approve of for our corporation that we own, the Corporation of New Zealand, we can go. So that is the first point of law that we're trying to get over. And if we can pass in that law, it means that every common law person, there's going to be a flood. Jodie made a joke. She said it's going to be the second flood. There's going to be a huge flood of common law people wanting to wake up. Brent, are you awake?
Yes, I'm listening.
Wake up.
Yeah, I am.
Right, pay attention. There's going to be a huge, you poor thing. Well, it's going to be a short video. It's not going to be long. So pay attention and then we'll finish. It's like I've got my students in my class. If my students don't pay attention, they get into trouble. Yeah. Pay attention, I say to them. And then they all jump up. Yeah. Right. Now where are we? Now you made me lose my train of thought. So there's going to be a flood. There's going to be a flood of people trying to get into the court, because for 30 years, they've been telling the common law people that they're not allowed to go to the court. And I'm here to tell you that they are, and I'm here to prove that they are. And that's going to mean that anybody that's got any complaint with the laws made by the government, if you think that it's repugnant to your indubitable ancient Protestant rights, then you will be able to go to the court. Under S28 of the 1990 Bill of Rights, you, all of you, any of you that are either Protestants or subjects of the Queen, are not involved with any of their Health Act or any of their 1990 Bill of Rights that's with the United Nations. You come under a different law, and that's why they're focused on the Maori and the Pacifica and the ethnic for all these vaccines. They're focused on them because they're the only ones that come under that law, and you actually don't come under that law. You come under a more protective law than what they've got, what they're using. So, so you get to go there and ask them. So that's going to be, I'm thinking we might have half a day. We've got two cases here. I called the court this morning. They're very, very helpful. They have now become my lawyers, and that is their job under the common law. When we have a problem with government, they are the lawyers for us. And so I called the court and I said to them, I'm not sure, because the first point that we have to argue is that the strikeout in the first court was wrong. And we're fighting that I have the right to go and complain about the government in a court of law under the Declaratory Judgment Act and under the 1688 as a layman person without a lawyer. I'm entitled to do that. And they're saying, no, you're not entitled. So that is the first thing that we're fighting. If I lose in that point, the whole case is gone anyway, because you've lost that point, so it's no good fighting the original statement of claim. If I win on that point, then I would have to battle on the original case of the statement of claim. And then I had a question for the court this morning. Should I prepare and battle both these things as in one case? And I said, if I win in the first thing, which I'm battling, that I'm allowed to even go to the court, if I win in that, does it get sent back to the High Court and we start again? Or does it stay in this court and they decide on my statement of claim in this court? And thank goodness, well, this is their job. The lovely people down at the courts, they said, You just write in an email to us, explain all those points to us, those questions, and we will write you a letter back and let you know what you should do. So we're in the heavenly realm now. And
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah, does anyone want to say anything about that? Come on, help me out here. Can't all sit there like dummies.
We're on mute. That's why we look like dummies. We're on mute.
Yeah, I can see everyone. Right, get involved.
It
get
appears
involved.
that that they are yeah, they're not leading you, but they're directing you and helping you, because we got
Assisting.
none in the other court.
They're obliged to, though. Remember, I've said this right from word go. Once you go into court on your own, that it is the obligation of the judge to kind of act on your behalf.
Yeah,
Point
he
you
did
in the
say
right
that.
direction. Yeah, and that will always be the way.
That
They
wasn't
have
in the
to.
High Court, though.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that in the High Court,
Yeah.
because the High Court, the cases of reference that they sent to me, there were complaints by the lawyers and the judges that they had to write the whole case for that person. And so they're of the opinion of, well, we went and did our law degree and you didn't. And so why do we have to give that knowledge for you when we're fighting against you? And my point is, when you're using the 1688 and you're fighting about a point of law that you disagree of the government that they have made, then we've already paid the government. We already paid Crown Law. We already paid the High Court, and we already paid Parliament. So they're not actually giving us anything that we didn't already pay for. We pay their salary to check up on the laws that they make and make sure that they're not repugnant to the cabinet manual.
Yeah.
And if we think that there's a law that it's repugnant to the cabinet manual, then we have the right, as the owners of the Corporation of New Zealand, we have the right to go there and say, I want to know why you made this law here.
Yeah.
And they, as the workers in our corporation that we own, they have to defend that. Well, not even defend it, but just explain it to us.
Yep.
And as Justice Churchman said in the case of Sue Gray, Justice Churchman said, either the law, it's very clear, either the law is correct or the law is not correct.
Yeah.
If the law is correct, the case is over, and they will give us a letter to say that law is correct, and these are the reasons why.
Why?
And if the law is not correct, they'll give a letter to the Parliament and they'll say, this is not correct, and these are the reasons why. So you're not going there to fight your traffic fine or anything like that. No.
I just want to bring attention, like we aren't blameless in technically we are not fully blameless in a way in the High Court, because there were two things in the statement of claim, and they hooked on to the two word in one of the sentences, and it said it spoke, and then there were two words that said judicial review relief, and in one part that's possibly our fault, but we got kicked out of case management, and it should have been in case management that this stuff, that they brought clarity, they asked the question. So when I say we're not quite blameless, being laymen, so they should have brought that up. It's like, hang on a minute, you've got declaratory judgments 1908 up top, but here in the sentences are three words. They didn't. They just went straight down the judicial review relief part, which is in the subordinate laws. So that's how we got so caught up. And then it appears that it just looked like we were just set up to fail, specifically because of the massive changes of our registrars, the massive changes of those, and then the constant, the judges did their job. They actually, I think they did it as best for us as they could, which really worked out. But we just, if you look at that, it wasn't that we were, oh, that wasn't fair and we got kicked out. There were things, and then we had the opposition. We were hammered. So that's why. But luckily for us, the events happened so well that now we are in the appeal court, and well, we can't fault that then.
And they
Yes.
really take care of you. We've really been taken care of. I mean, I call them. I'll tell you something about the High Court. This one that we got wouldn't even give me a phone number. I was writing like 3, 4, 5, 6 emails a day to them with just one sentence trying to clarify, and they would come back with an answer that was nothing. And I asked them many times for a phone number, and they're like, no, we're not giving you a phone number. No, you've got, but this appeal court is like, yes, call us anytime. If you've got any questions, call us.
Wow.
Yes, just send us an email and we'll answer you.
And they know English.
Yeah, the English is very good. The
Proper
other one, the English
English.
was not good. The English was not good.
Yeah.
So that was a good thing. And
Kate,
I would send them an email in a plain English, and they would send me back an email that said something that I don't even know what it had nothing to do with the question that I asked. Nothing. And so it showed me that the English wasn't up to standard in the end.
I got a question, Kate.
Yes, dear.
What part of the common law are they going to uphold? All of
Common
it?
law. Yeah.
You know how you're talking about the common law. What part of the common law that we know is common law, what part of that are they going to uphold?
Yeah, well, I was talking about it to Sharon. We just put out a video. Me and Sharon just put out a video. Is that the 1990 Bill of Rights is a bill to you, and the United Nations has attached themselves onto it in Section 19. The United Nations law is not New Zealand law, and the United Nations has attached themselves onto the 1990 Bill of Rights, Section 19. And it's an act. It's an act. And the 1990 Bill of Rights is what they passed in Parliament. Every single thing that they pass in Parliament is a bill to you. And
we're talking about common law, darling.
Wait till I get there. Well, the common law is the 1688 Bill of Rights, and that is a bill to them. And under the 1688 Bill of Rights, it's got a clause that says that foreigners are not allowed to govern over us, number one. And secondly, they're not allowed to use our money to pay for things that are outside of us that we don't agree to. And the United Nations, the 1990 that they've attached on, the United Nations is giving foreigners many, many things that we ourselves as New Zealanders are not entitled to. When we are born, we're not entitled to a house. When we grow up, our parents will usually either ask us some of them have a house, some of them are renting, but you have to leave the house, you have to find your own job, and then you have to go and buy your own house, unless you're lucky enough to inherit a house, which doesn't always happen. Well, they're bringing in people into the country, and they're saying that they're entitled to have a house. They're entitled to have $100,000 settlement money. They're entitled to have a job. They're entitled to have schooling and healthcare. Now, all of their countries don't guarantee them that. When they're born into their country, they're not guaranteed a house upon birth. They are not. So why are they being guaranteed? Who wouldn't want to come to a country that says, hey, if you come here, we're going to give you a house, we're going to give you all this money, we're going to give you all these benefits, we're going to give you this, that. And who wouldn't want to go to a country, but their countries are not giving it. So I'm saying that it is repugnant. Now, Section 5 KII has got a law that says New Zealand will be bound to any international instruments. It means that they can make any law that they want, any law, and you are bound to it by this Bill of Rights 1990.
Yeah,
So they're already giving that. So that is the point in the common law that I'm saying they're not allowed to use our money for that.
so these common law folks, right? These common law groups, they should be using the 1688. That's what you're saying, eh?
Yes, because you
That's
can't
right,
go
eh?
to the court without it.
Yeah.
That is your common law. That is your common law.
The true common law, yeah.
The true common law.
Supreme common law.
Supreme common law. The written common law.
And Kiwi, when she talks about and I've looked at the common law groups when they say about the jurisdiction, and Kate talks about the realms and being born and dying and coming up and stuff, that I think a lot of these common law groups have been duped. They've mixed it to say, so these people think that not operating in their jurisdiction is that's what they mean, that I don't recognize a judge. Yet when you'll hear Kate talking about being born and then dying and then coming up and operating in a realm, that's the jurisdiction she talks about. So you probably need to explain that, Kate, how the common, those that came into New Zealand in the 80s and just hammered a lot of people, so these people join these common law groups. It's through that. That's where the mix-up is between, say, one group, us, and those in those common law groups. It's this
No.
jurisdiction.
Hang on, darling. So the common law believe that the moment you, because I know about common law, believe you me. So the common law people believe that the moment you do a birth certificate, you're bound.
Yeah.
You
Do you
are.
understand that? Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, you are.
Corporation.
to the
So-
corporation.
Yeah.
Our corporation.
So when
Well, that's the
you-
deception, isn't it?
That's
so
right.
when-
So that's why I want you to clear that up, darling, because you talked about common law, which is awesome. Absolutely awesome. I love it. So just clear it up with the common law, whoever listens to this, because I'll share this around to the common law folks, that they need to understand this, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Sure.
So pretty much, Kiwi, Kate and I did a video, as she explained. Every time they use the 1990 Bill of Rights, that bill comes back on us because
Common law don't go on.
a bill
Common law
that goes
don't go
back
on
to the
that.
government. It's a bill that comes back to the taxpayer who they have to pay. 1688 doesn't have that.
Yeah, I
1688 is our protections in the way where if we go to the court and say, no, you've done wrong under 1688 because it's a supreme law, you need to pay for these people. Why should we pay for these people? It's repugnant against our supreme law.
Yeah, I get it, darling. I get it. Honestly, I get
So,
it.
so my understanding with the common law is that they operate under maritime law and
Yes.
admiralty law. And as you say, Kiwi, you talk about the birth certificate, they're
Yes.
opting out of the birth certificate because they don't want to be part of the corporation.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
that's the deception of what Kate talks about, is that we own the corporation.
We do.
We
That's
need to hang
right.
on to our birth certificates. So
Yes.
that's where there's kind of different, isn't it, Kate? Like there's conflicting information to the common law groups.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right,
Yes,
so I'm
it's-
going to explain it to you. I'm going to explain it, okay? Because I just need to take her to explain some things that you all know, you all already know, but I want to explain it to Kiwi and she's going to take it to the common law people.
Oh, because darling, I understand exactly where
I'm
you're
trying,
coming from.
if you let me, because I will. If you let me, I will. Right, it's only
Awesome.
gonna take 5 minutes. Right. So way back in the beginning, the original corporations were of the three religions. The three religions, and nobody knows which one came first. We know the Islamic came, there's a bit of a mix-up of which one came first, but we know there were three religions, the Catholic, the Jewish, and the Islamic, and they all wrote Bibles for themselves. And if you think of the first law came from the Bible, and when the Catholics first came out, they wrote their law that was in, wrote their law that was in the Bible, and they said anybody who is born into, anybody comes to our church and they will be born into the Catholic Church, and then they will get a certificate saying that they are in the Catholic Church and all their land belongs to the church. And then they said that all the other people were too stupid, and because they couldn't read and they couldn't write, so they said, since you can't read and you can't write, your land can't be measured. Land that can't be measured is not really, it doesn't exist in the in this untrue world, in the earthly realm. So the Catholics said that they owned all the land, but all the other people that were not Catholics couldn't be born into it. So that was the first law that was set up. That was the first corporation. Then along come the Jews. They said, we don't want to be under those, and they wrote their own Torah. So they wrote the Torah, and then they said, all our people that are born into this, and they made up some silly rituals. Well, I won't call them silly, I'm not allowed to, but they made up a bunch of rituals, and they said, these are our rituals and these are our laws, and since we've got a law, we don't have to stand under your law anymore. Then along come the Islamists, and then they said, we're going to have this law, and they brought up a whole bunch of laws. So they had these three corporations. They were all corporations. Everybody in them was protected under them. So all the people that were not within those religions were usually raped and pillaged for their lands. That's how it, or sometimes the people that were not in those religions went and raped and pillaged the religions. It could go either way. You never knew which way it was going to go. But this is how it all came to be. So then in 1688, they made a law for the Protestants. And because the Protestants were not able to be born into any of those laws, and they found that the churches owned all the lands, and anybody that wasn't in those three lanes, let's call them lanes, anybody that wasn't in those three lanes, this is just a very rudimentary thing. I mean, it's much deeper than this, but this is how I can understand it in my mind. So what had happened was all this land belonged to the natural people. That's the common law people, the natural people that didn't want to be under any of their laws that they'd written. And the natural people were being burned alive at the stake, being decapitated, and all of these things. The only way a natural person was allowed to own their own land was if they went off to war for the religions and pillaged other lands, and when they come back, they were given a piece of land that they were allowed to own. So that's how it was all done. But one day the king threw all the religions out, it went all through Europe, threw them all out, and he said, all these natural people are the owners of the land. And they calculated in the Doomsday Book, they calculated every square inch of the entire world. They calculated every single person. And they knew, I don't know, Lord knows how they did it. But anyway, everybody got, all people are in a corporation the minute that they're born. So someone that was, and this is what happened to Jesus. See, Jesus got born into the Jewish religion, and he grew up and he said, I don't want to be under all these laws. I want to be with all these people down at the pub and all these prostitutes and all these people. I want to be with hanging out with them and teaching them how to be good. Yeah. So he said, I don't want to be in the Jewish. And the Jews said to him, well, you shouldn't be with those dirty, filthy Gentiles. You should be over here with us. And Jesus rejected them all. And that's why he was put on the cross and killed. So then, in the year 1500, when the minute that a person was born, they were given a birth certificate of their corporation. The Jews had their corporation, Catholics had their corporation, and then the Islamists had their corporation. And all of the white people at that time were slaves. And the barbarians used to come and steal them from the lands of Germany, steal them from the lands of England, and take them over to Africa. And the original slaves were all white. And when the 1688 come out and it banned the slavery, that's when black slavery, that's why they're called black slaves, because slavery under England was wiped out. It didn't say white slaves are not allowed. It wiped out slavery for all people that were subjects, all countries that wanted to be subjects. The slavery was forbidden in them. And all those countries tended to be white. And so then the Africans and the Islamists needed a new slave pool. And that's when the black slave pool, and the way that you knew that they were not breaking the law that had been made that British people and English people weren't allowed to be slaves, was that they said, they called them black slaves. So that's how black slavery came to be, because they stopped the white slavery. That's what happened. And but still, the Protestant people, anyone that wasn't in those religions, or the Christian people, when they were born, they had no birth certificate and they had no corporation. And all of these other places were much stronger because they had the corporations of land. So they created a corporation under the king. And that was done around about, I don't know, 1688. I don't know when it was done, but the kings came along, King the Fourth and King the Fifth. And now I do get a bit confused here, but apparently the Queen in 1837, she came to the missionaries and the Jehovah's and the Catholics, when all of these things were banned in the European countries, that all this slavery and burning people alive and decapitating people and putting their heads on the stakes. They're called stakes. That's why they're called the Mormons and the Jehovah's stakes, because they used to decapitate people, put their heads on the stakes, or they used to stake them to the fire. That's what staking is. And so in 1837, when they all moved out into all of the brown countries, and the religions did, and the first thing they did when they arrived in New Zealand was they took the New Zealand Maori to England, and they taught them, they gave them a written language. Once they had a written language and they could read, that's when they were able to be born into the corporation of the religion. And so and anyone that was not born into one of those three corporations were naked in the jungle. You had no laws to protect you. You were just called naked in the jungle, and that's what happened to Jesus. Jesus was born into the Jewish religion, and when he tried to leave it, he was naked in the jungle because he had no law to protect him. So now let me kind of get my head straight a bit here. So 1837, the Majesty came to all the brown countries and brought the English law. The Queen didn't take anything. She then incorporated the entire country, and all those lands which belonged to those two religious corporations, they belonged to the entirety of New Zealand belonged to the Jehovah's Witness Church people and the Catholics, and they had set up, but those two lots of people had set up corporations outside of the church. They weren't supposed to. They were only supposed to go and teach the good word, but behind the church's back, they had set up corporations, and they wrote the Whakaputanga, the Declaration of Independence, and they made it so that the Maoris had a written language and that they could write land deeds. And then all those land deeds went into the hands of the church.
Can you explain the Westphalian, and they couldn't buy land off us because we didn't have a language? What, is that not correct?
Yeah, that's true. Under the Westphalian law, which was written by Hugo Grotius, any of the native peoples, because they'd learned all this from England and Germany, any person that can't read or write, if you can't read their law, then you can't be held to account to their law, because you can't read it. So that's why when in your passport, you'll see the Queen gives you passage. When they stamp your passport, you're under the Queen's law in that country. And it's because you can't read their language. So when you enter their country and you can't read their language, you're allowed to do anything you like because you can't read their laws. But
So how did the birth certificate bound them then?
Yeah, you will get in there then. So,
okay. I'll mute myself.
You have to be patient. All right. So, so when all of under the Westphalian, the people that couldn't read and write, their land belonged to them. They were no different from a tree. They were called fauna. What were they called, Maxine? Fauna, is that right?
The Australian Aboriginals were flora and fauna until 1967.
Flora and fauna. Actually, people were flora and fauna, which meant that you were no different from a native tree or a native animal. Not that we want to call people, but you were just, they were of God. But the minute with the New Zealand married, the minute that they were able to read, and they were able to read those Bibles, they automatically are able to be held accountable to those laws. And if they were not in those religions, but they could read, then they could be put under the Gentile laws, where they were punished as Gentiles. They were punished as Protestants, Gentiles, and Goya. And so, the only way to get into those religions was to be born into them. And so they bore, what they did is they had sex with the some of the natives and the native chiefs, and had children with them, and they made those children, they gave those children, just like Jesus, that religion from their birth. And they got a birth certificate of the church corporation, right? And then all the rest became slaves. They became the Mokai slaves. 1837, the Queen came in and she confiscated all the land from those religions. And then she incorporated New Zealand in 1841. New Zealand was incorporated, just like England was. If you go and read the 1688 Bill of Rights, it says there it is a corporation and it is annexed as a corporation. And then they made New Zealand, the entire country of New Zealand, a corporation, and they gave every single tribe a certificate of their tribe, and every single man, woman, and child was given a birth certificate, and they all became owners of the entire corporation of the entire country, rather than in their individual. So that corporation, they also sold some shares to it in England at £25 a share, which is very expensive. And you were allowed to buy 6 shares, and there were up to £300 in shares you were permitted to buy. They had to do that because New Zealand needed money. They needed money for the wars that they needed to fight to get out of the trouble that they were in. And so that was the way they sold shares on the share market, and that paid for the armies to come in that was brought in by the Maori themselves. All right, the Maori themselves brought it in. And so that corporation, so some English people were put into that corporation as well. That's called the Ngāti Wikitoria tribe. And the people that are saying that they're Ngāti Wikitoria are not the right people. But let's just not go there. But so then everybody got a birth certificate. The birth certificate started in I think they started in 1846 in New Zealand. Yeah. And that birth certificate is actually your share certificate. That's
Yep.
what it is. And that means that you're the owner of the corporation. And then as you're an owner of the corporation, you are permitted to use, when you see that the government is making laws, they're making bills. They don't make laws in Parliament, they make bills.
Yep.
Every time they make a bill, they give that bill to you, and it's you that's got to pay it. It can either be a bill where they get monetary things from you, or it can be a bill of things that you have to do for your duties to society. They're all called bills to you, but the Queen's Law have got one bill to them, which is the 1688, and it tells all the rules that they have to follow to manage to be working for you. They're working for you, right? They're working for you, and then the only way for you, if you're unhappy about a bill that they've given you, and if you think that it's repugnant to your corporation, your corporate law that's in the 1688, you with your birth certificate as a shareholder, you only need one, can go to the court and say, I'm under the 1908 Declaratory Judgment Act, Section 2. You can say, I'm interested in the construction of this law and why you've made it and why I need to pay this bill.
Beautiful.
And yes, and so that means that you're taking ownership of your directorship of your company that you own. Unfortunately, the common law people have been telling you not to do that for 30 years.
That's right.
So those people, David Wynne Miller, and those people came out of America in around about between 1975 and 1980. They came out. In 1973, America, LexisNexis, bought the Queen's Law, Butterworth's from England. And they've been trying to get you under American law ever since, because American law is inalienable, where they make you aliens on your own land.
Nailed it.
But whereas you actually in New Zealand actually own the whole country yourself.
Exactly.
You're the owner of that corporation. So it doesn't matter if they have this corporation over in America or not. That's just to do with the money or whatever. It really doesn't matter. You still, as long as you have your certificate and as long as you are still demanding it, you still are the owner of the corporation. And you still can take even that corporation that's in America, you can even take them to court. You can take LexisNexis law to court. You can take Parliament to court. What they're telling you to do is they're looking for all the people that are on these certificates. Each tribe, this is mine. So this is mine from the St. Pauli. So here's mine, right? And
Yep.
so my birth certificate matches to this. And when they get your birth certificate, when you're born, you either go into one of those 4 lanes. You go into the Jewish lane, and that's where your corporation is. You go into the Catholic lane, that's where your corporation is. You go into the Islamic lane, that's where your corporation is. And if you don't belong to any of those, you can go into the Christian lane. It comes up under Christian and Protestant is mixed together. So you go into that corporation on that birth certificate. And each one of those lanes is attached to something like this, each one of them. And
Nice.
so yes. And if you're in none of those lanes, none of them, you go into the United Nations Corporation with all the refugees. That's where you go. So if you go and look at Corey Bond, I've seen one, but I know there are many. And I just seen someone posting it, that if you leave the corporation, because they can't force someone to stay in a corporation. So if you go and leave the corporation and you leave your birth certificate, once you don't have a birth certificate, you're no longer entitled to a New Zealand passport. But although now you're entitled to it under the Aotearoa thing, because you go into the Aotearoa Corporation. Under the Aotearoa Corporation, you're under tikanga law, you're under a whole different thing.
Yep.
But under the New Zealand Corporation, we are permitted to take Parliament to court. We are, and we can take the United Nations to court, and we can take America to court. We can take anyone to court. But if you come under another corporation, you're not able to, because this is for this corporation, right?
So
So
you're
every
saying-
corporation.
So you're saying under the Aotearoa Corporation on Corey's page, what he was saying is you can't.
Under that, he's issuing you under the Kiwi embassy thing that they've set up.
Yeah.
Under that, if you leave your passport and you leave your birth certificate, they will give you a travel document. I've got a copy of it here somewhere, but Corey Bonder's had it, and I've got it
send
just
it to me.
posted a thing. They give you a travel document from the United Nations saying that you can travel freely. Basically, they've
Wow.
made you a refugee.
Oh, I must get that off Corey.
And so
Not,
you're
have
out
that,
of
not just that,
corporation.
they then, I would assume, own your shares in this
Yes,
corporation.
They go.
And
Yeah.
that's the whole point of all this rubbish,
Yeah.
this
All your-
stuff.
All your shares go into their corporation. And that's
Mm.
why children get incorporated into the church when they're 7 years old, because that's when they're able to read. And that's why they wanted the ability for children to read, to go back further and further to when they were 3 years old, 4 years old. The reason is that they could be, the minute that a child is able to read, they are incorporated completely.
Which is
So-
7 at their
Yeah,
in their
yeah,
mind.
7 years old for the churches. Because my friend of the Mormon church sent me the video of his daughter being incorporated. And when she was in the
Wow.
pool, you could hear the priest, I don't know what they call it, you could hear the man at the thing saying, your name is, and you are now fully and absolutely incorporated and annexed into the corporation of the Mormon church.
Wow.
So they incorporate you. We're all incorporated, and anyone that's not incorporated is in the refugee unincorporated people. You go under a different, and so they've managed to get many of the native tribes from our countries into that corporation. Yeah.
Cheers,
So
Doug, for clearing that up.
is there any more? So ask Corey for the travel document. He had a travel, he said, just ask him. He had a travel document, and I've got a copy of it, but I'd have to go and find it, and I don't have time now. But when
We'll
he
get it
got,
off him.
when he was going to do the hikoi, he showed on his Facebook thing a picture of this document that he was giving out to everybody. He was giving them out to everybody left, right, and center, saying, you're free to travel. The United Nations says you're free to travel, and here's your travel document. That is for all the people that have left their birth certificate. And you're now a
So that
refugee
was-
under the United Nations.
So the Mary Rangers are now refugees of the United Nations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. They're out of the New Zealand Corporation. They no longer
Yeah.
are owners.
In saying
And-
that, though,
Yeah.
where the Queen
Hang
came,
on.
Okay, Brent
Hang on,
first
hang
and then Maxine.
Yeah, hang on. So the Mary Rangers are out of the New Zealand Corporation. Therefore, they're not being recognised in the New Zealand courts. Because I know 2 people who use the Mary Rangers cards in courts and got there. They were going up, I think, for growing weed, and they got it chucked completely out of court. They never went to court, never got prosecuted because they had the Mary Ranger cards.
I've heard this story 3 or 4 times, and I have asked them. I have been told that they went and gave documents to the judge, and when it was seen, the judge threw the case out of the court.
Yeah.
But I would just say I'm an evidence-based person. And so I've said to each of those people, show me any piece of evidence that actually happened. Show me the evidence and show me the documents that you used in the court, and they haven't been able to do it. And
Yeah.
so I've asked, now Karen Brewer said the same thing, and
Yeah.
I have asked them to show me one piece of evidence, and they've said the court has hidden it. And so until I see it, I can't
Yeah.
comment. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying I haven't seen any evidence that it did happen. And when I do see that evidence, I would be willing to discuss it.
Yeah, yeah, well,
So have
it's
you
just,
seen
I
the
remember
evidence?
I've talked with you about it in the past, like the two personal friends of mine who, you know, well, not one of them, but one of them's a personal friend of mine, and yeah, they've gone all out with the Maori Ranger thing, and apparently that's what happened.
Yes, and I said, ask them for even
Yeah.
even one piece of evidence, and they were not able to provide that.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
so I couldn't take the story as true, but although I do believe them, I believe what they're saying, but I can't, it's not something that I could definitely say is true. I could say I'm standing on the fence. So, and just like the Corey story, yeah, Maxine, Sharon wants to talk, and then Maxine wanted to say something. Sharon.
Oh, sorry, Max. I've seen those rangers, and some of them belong to Moana Nui Akua, and they do. They can drive around without a license. They can drive around without a registration, because my nephew does. But understand, it's because those documents come from United Nations. It doesn't come from anywhere else. In the process of all of them having those ranger cards and those documents, embassy documents, they've still cut the umbilical cord to their properties.
Yes.
So the question I want to ask is, all whānau have trusts, and see, like Maxine and I, we've got trusts. So if our families have pulled away and left the certificates and birth certificates, and then they say you come under this corporation, surely they cannot take our land, the properties that we own as shareholders in a big property. Surely.
That if
I should, yeah,
under the 1688 Bill of Rights, it comes under the forfeiture of person without conviction, and they can't confiscate your land because of the 1688. The United Nations has written similar laws, like the United Nations, under the Charter of the United Nations, they've got some very good laws, like they've got the no cruel and unusual punishment. They've got that law too.
Oh, wow.
And they also have got the no forfeiture of person without conviction law also. They've also got that, but then they've also got another law that every person, every time you want to do something in your state, you have to check with them if you're allowed to do it or not. And every time, and they've also got that all people within the United Nations refugee pool can come and live on your properties because they are open and free for all of them. Whereas our 1688 says foreigners cannot come and govern over us, and foreigners cannot come and take our properties. So some of the things, and then also this thing where you can drive without a license, and you can drive without, and you don't need that. I have no doubt that you don't have to have your license, and you can have no license plate, but it's only within that area for a start. It's only within the area that they've been given. So it doesn't apply to across the entire country. That's the first thing. So if you're in that area,
The state
that
if you're
has
in that
left the
state.
Corporation of New Zealand in the Nui Akiwa area, then you don't need to have it there. But when you go outside of that area, that's when you need to have it. Then you go under the laws, because each state has got a different law. And secondly, when you want to travel overseas, you're no longer protected by your New Zealand passport. You then get those United Nations travel documents. And there's certain things that you're entitled to some things, but you're not entitled to everything. You know, to be honest with you, Kiwi, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but for me, it's not something that I want to do. So I don't know about all you other people, if it's a good thing for you or not.
No,
Oh,
it's not
darling.
something I want to do
Darling.
either.
But it's something that I just wanted you to have a corridor about. You know, it's great that you put this forward, because these common law people are they're a little bit hairy-fairy now. You know, they believe in a whole lot of this and that, but they don't get the crux of it. They don't understand it to the full potential.
Yeah, that's true.
No, well,
They
they're on the right track, but they're using the wrong thing, because we do actually have a written common law. Look, here's our court case. Let's get back to this.
Oh,
All right.
sorry for
No,
taking
no.
this.
Well, I'm going to get back to this because
away.
I'm going to show how it relates to your common law. So I'm
Go-
going to
go
show
back
that.
to
It's
the-
a great
yeah.
conversation. Great conversation. So let's just get out of. So I'm just going to show you here that when I wanted to go to the court, I'll just show you here that you can see here. I just have to make this bit bigger. So what you can see here is, what do I get under my written common law under my Corporation of New Zealand? Well, I'm allowed to call the people to the court. Here's the people. So, you know, mine is no different to those common law people. So I want to call these people here up on my wall. I want to call them to court. I'm not happy with what they're doing, right? And then I'm using Her Majesty the Queen and Jesus and Chief Nene. They're the people that said that I'm allowed to do that. And then I've got the people on the wall. Now, this is no different to the common law courts that you go to, right? When you go to your common law courts and they make a ruling, that ruling basically goes into a file, and it has absolutely no power whatsoever against the people that they've decided to take their court case, all right? So, but with my one being in the corporation, I can go here and I can tell them, I tell them how many days that I want in my case against them, all right? And the 1688 is a bill to them. And then I can go and I can say to them, they've said to me, I can request, not them, I can request if I want to have 5 judges or if I want to have 3. So this is my power that I have in the corporation that I own. So it's great. Now, and then they tell me that I've got until the 21st of September to get my case completed, all right? So I've got until the 21st of September to make my case. So I've got 3 months to put it all together how I want to put it together, all right? So we close that one off, and then we'll go to this one. Now that I wanted to get a fee waiver, and they've asked me, what are the problems with you? What do you want us to talk about in the court, in a true court of law, true common law court that has power? When they make a ruling, it's going to have power. And that's what you want, is a ruling where it's going to have power. So in my waiver of court fees, that I've said to them, they've said, how is this case in the public interest, is what they've said to me. How is this case? What's that noise? Brent, is that you making that noise?
What noise?
Right. Right, are you ready or not? You're not going to do it if you don't pay attention.
Okay, hang on, wait. I've got to close my window.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think that's where
Just
all
put
of us
yourself on mute.
All right, go. Oh, now I can't hear.
Can you hear?
Oh, yeah, I can now.
Right. Right. Are you ready? Are you comfy?
Yeah.
Right. Are you comfy?
Yeah,
Right.
I'm in dingy
So-
motel room.
I went to the court and I said, I'm unhappy because they have told me, I have said to them, the courts have denied access to justice to the public using unintelligibility as an excuse. So the court said to me, you're not allowed to come to our court because we think you're unintelligible and we don't want to listen to what you have to say. So they just used the abusive process, and a lot of the common law people have tried to get into the court, and the court have been using this as an excuse to throw them out, unintelligibility. And I'm battling that. I'm saying they can't use, it's not an excuse to stop people from going to the court and complain about the corporation. All right.
Nice.
So we're fighting that. And if we win that, it's going to open up the door for all common law people to go and present their genuine cases to the court if it's got a point of law that they're not happy about. So we're going to fix this for them.
Yeah.
So they can genuinely make use of their true common law. Then I'm going to say, I'm doing this under the 1688 Bill of Rights, the imperial laws of 1988, the 1628 Petition of Right, the 1844 German Settlement, Protestants Victoria A, which all you tribes have got one of these. We've all got them. You don't need it, but if you've got it, it helps. Which puts us all in the corporation of the New Zealand Company. All of us are in the corporation of the New Zealand Company. And it is the New Zealand Company that trades on the New York Stock Exchange. But the people that own that company are us. And when you leave that company, you no longer have any say in it. So you've got to be in to win.
So you're saying to stay in it?
I'm saying you've got to stay in the corporation if you want to be able to manage the corporation. It makes sense.
Yeah.
That why are they saying?
What I'm saying is the common law are trying to get out of the corporation. So you're saying stay in it.
Stay in it.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm saying if you want power.
Interesting, sister. Interesting.
What
Beautiful.
happened in America? That's the deception. In America, they took everybody out of the common law and they took them all out of the corporation of England and they made them all aliens in America. But you are the pure people that are born to this land that was set up in 1846 and put into this corporation. You are the owners of it. The Americans left England before England was able to negotiate with the Indians. And so the common law was only established in 4 states in America. All the other states are aliens and none of them belong, none of them own that corporation like we own ours. We actually own ours.
Nice.
And so even though it's traded on the New York Stock Exchange, if they do things with our monies that we're not happy about, and if they've made a bill, the Parliament makes bills. And every time they make that bill and give that bill to you, if you're not happy about that bill, you can take our bill, which is the 1688, and you can take it back to the court. This is my bill. I'm saying to them, you made a bill that said unintelligibility was a reason you could stop me from going to the court. And I'm taking my bill that I give to them and I'm putting the bill back on them.
Boom.
Yeah, I'm saying, listen, mate, here's your bill to me, but here's my bill to you.
Aye, sister.
So that's what you've got to do. So if I was not in the corporation, I wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have my birth certificate. I'd have to use United Nations law. United Nations law is all managed in the criminal court and the administrative court. Our law is managed in the High Court and the Supreme Court and the Appeals Court. That's where we are managed in the. That's why I call them the higher realm, the heavenly
And the
realm.
lower court.
And the
and the
yeah.
lower
So
court.
they're all down in the earthly courts, and it's all managed under the United Nations, the whole lot. We're in the heavenly realm, where we didn't do anything wrong, but we are looking at our corporation that we own, and we're not happy with them, and we're taking our bill to them and saying, you've got to fix that because we're not happy.
Which were God's laws.
God's laws.
Amen, sister, amen.
So then I said we could, so included in that, and I have to actually add to this because I've just found another one that somebody told me. You can use the Declaratory Judgment Act. I haven't got it here right now. I've got it. The Declaratory Judgment Act that I just did a video. Oh, here, I've got it right here. So the Declaratory Judgment Act goes together. This is given to you as the owner of the corporation. This is given to you. And it says here, any person that wants to apply to the court about the validity of a law or a construction of law, you don't even have to prove it. You only have to say that you have an interest in why that law is like that. That's all. And they have to let you go to court for it. And they have to write to you and explain it to you because we own them. We pay them. So we want them to explain it to us. And since they are the parents that we hire with our money, they have to explain it to us as the children that want to know about these things. It's no different from when you're talking to your 3-year-old child. They've got to do that. So, so then I've said, they had also said that the court has no jurisdiction to give me a declaration. I've asked for a declaration to say that the 1990 Bill of Rights, the 1688 Bill of Rights is above the 1990, and it's the supreme law, and that we want it made clear to the public that their true common law is in their 1688, not the 1990 Bill of Rights, which is a workers' rights for the United Nations. So I want that made clear, and so that we can take our common law powers back. So that's the thing. So
Hallelujah.
yeah, hallelujah. So under S27 of the 1990 Bill of Rights, you're entitled to go to the lower courts and you're entitled to file a complaint against the government. And if you win your complaint, it will automatically go to litigation where you can get money for that thing that you complained about. And for that reason, that comes under another corporation. And because you're applying to get money, who does that money, who pays that money? We, the taxpayer. And so when they are coming to us, the taxpayer, taking our money from our corporation that we own, for that, they need to have a lawyer so that they can take our money from us to pay them, right? But under S28, all other rights are unaffected by this law. That is the 1688. We don't get money for that. We only say, we're angry that you made this bill that we have to pay all these people this money from our corporation. And we're not happy about why you made that law. And we can get the law changed. We only get, see, abortions. Let's look at abortions. The Wade versus Roe was turned on the 1688 because Wade versus Roe, they said all of us in the corporation are having to pay for abortions when we don't agree with them. Some of us agree and some of us, they don't. So we're saying that they should fund it themselves. And that was what they went to the court originally about, that it had to be funded by them because we said we don't want to pay. So they are blocking everybody, all the common law people, from going to the court. They're blocking them all using S27 and also the unintelligible, they call it abuse of process unintelligibility. And then they're saying that the court has no jurisdiction to make a declaration, but they're using the 1990 Bill of Rights, S27.
Bill of Rights Act. You might want to
Bill of
amend
Rights
that.
Act. Bill of Rights Act, which
Can you
comes
stick an act
under
in there?
and which comes under the Mannix rule and the Chesterfield's rule, that they need a lawyer. But we come under S28 that says we're exempt from all of that. And the 1688 is not an act, it's a statute. It's different. It's a constitution, so to speak.
Nice.
So I'm saying that under S28, for our laws and our corporation that we own, we don't need a lawyer. We can go and they have to help us because we pay them for it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So this is going to open up the courts for all of you.
Aye, darling. Aye.
Yeah. So the cabinet manual in Parliament, I have said to them that they are not upholding the oath because under the 1688, there are certain ways that they have to govern us. I'm not going to go into it today, but it's all part of their oath. And when they're not following the oath correctly and forcing us to pay all this money to other countries and forcing us to do all these things that we don't want to do, they're not upholding the oath. And when they're not upholding the oath, that's when you can go to the court and say that the oath, that is the contract that we as the corporation gave them this contract, and they said, we said, if you want to work for us, you've got to follow this contract. And if you're not following this contract, we as the directors will take you to court and call you out on it, and you have to come.
Man, I love you. I love you so much.
So that's why I'm taking them to the court, because I'm saying you're not fulfilling your contract that we gave you.
Exactly.
And if you don't turn around what you're doing, then we will have to remove you from there because you're not doing your thing according to the contract that we gave you.
Exactly.
Is that right, Kiwi?
Exactly, darling. Exactly. And
Exactly.
you're leading the way for our people to be able to fight these bills and these acts.
Even Tikanga Law, even the Tikanga Law Society is bound by this because that's a corporation that you own that corporation too. You own it all. It's all yours, all of it.
I think we're not going to be fighting it. We're actually going to be taking our seats back at the table at our corporation as directors.
Yes.
That's what those chiefs with that faction, that's the reason why they called in the British, isn't it? It's opening the way for us to take our seats and actually take some responsibility in running our corporation.
Taking our power back.
It belongs to you. The country belongs to you. The water belongs to you. The roads belong to you. The electricity belongs to you. Presently, they're giving half your stuff away to everybody else that it doesn't belong to.
Giving it to everybody else
except us. Corporation, you must stop them.
Yeah.
There's obviously a few upper echelon Māori that are sitting in those seats for us.
Certainly is.
They're not going to be sitting alone after this, Mother.
Yeah, to say it frankly.
Yeah, because it's yours. So that's why we're doing that. So then I've said that they're using LexisNexis as a form of psychological waterboarding, which means that they keep throwing so many laws at you at such a fast pace. You're getting all confused and you're getting all stressed and you're all making decisions under duress that you probably wouldn't make if you weren't under such duress.
And that's
such as leaving your birth certificate.
That's the perfect word for it, is duress.
Yeah.
Yes. There's a great deal of duress because they're just I called it psychological waterboarding. It's in my case, and Justice Cook did mention it, and they're wondering what I'm meaning, but they didn't give me opportunity to explain
the
it in the
answer
court
to it.
because they threw me out because they said I was unintelligible, but I'm not unintelligible. I know exactly what I'm talking about. Only they don't. Or maybe
We
they
know
do.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Yeah, you all know what I'm talking about. So either they're unintelligible or they are intelligible and they know exactly what I'm damn talking about, because I'm calling them to the table and I'm saying, I'm the director, you're not the director, I'm the director, Kate Floss and my Oreo mates. We're the directors of the company and we're coming in and we're going to be pulling your socks up.
Right.
Yeah, and we don't
A
pull your socks
hostile
up,
takeover.
we're pulling them down, aren't we?
We're going to do a hostile takeover.
Yes, it doesn't have to be hostile. Even just getting the declaration will overturn everything. We are going to be the ones turned against. Our people, the Protestant people, are all going to hate us.
Well, we're going to be. You know, when you own a corporation and you say everybody's entitled to exactly the same things in the corporation, and some people were in that corporation for 200 years, and some people only turned up to the corporation yesterday and are expecting the same things as the ones that were in the corporation of 200 years. I don't think it's fair. And I don't think we should be running our corporation like that. And since we're losing a lot of money doing it and we're all becoming poor and sleeping in the streets, we need to remanage our corporation that we own.
Yeah. And I've got another question, Kate. How can we call her to this?
What do you mean?
Donating. Donating, Kate.
Pardon?
Not all of us want you to use your poor husband's fund. Okay, so I want to personally put some money into your bootia. Okay, so how can we help you without you like doing this thing?
I'll put up the thing. I've had two people put a wee bit in. I've got to pay the unfortunately I didn't get a waiver on the first one, and I do have to pay $2,700. But and some lovely people, I don't mention people's names who give money because I mustn't, but some lovely people have put some in for me, and but I'm hoping, so that one I do need a bit of help for, and I'm hoping for any help to come for that. I'm very grateful. But I'm hoping for these other ones that will get fee waivers. And if I get the fee waivers, that's going to make a difference. And then I'm hoping to get the fee waivers, not because people don't want to give me money, because people are giving me a wee bit sometimes, but because I want to show people that go after me, because everybody knows I'm quite popular and I'm famous, and I've got my website, and so I'm quite famous, aren't I? But not everybody is as famous as I am, and I'm hoping to get the fee waiver because I want to show people this is your corporation. It doesn't matter how poor you are able to go to the court, and you can go to the court for free. So that's why I'm hoping to get this waiver, so that I can show people that if you've really got something to say, and I'm actually going to bring that up on the court. I'm going to say, because the Declaratory Judgment Act says that we can ask at any time and it's supposed to be free. under the 1688 Bill of Rights, it's free. And it comes under the free speech. Well, free speech, making a petition to the court and using your speech in written speech, verbal speech, whatever speech, it's all speech and it's supposed to be free.
Yeah.
So I'll be mentioning that to the court.
Can I just also say that the more people that know about this and are interested, it helps to get the fee waiver. It's about public interest. They can't charge you if it's in the interest of the public. And that putting it out there, getting this out there is she shouldn't need money, and most of this for this case, the majority, and to get us going because it's public interest.
Yeah, and hey, you can't say 633 people, followers on your YouTube aren't interested, because they are. There's 600 of them. It's public interest.
We are interested because we're going to take back our corporation. We're taking back the directorship. We all have been resting on our laurels because we all thought that we could trust the government and we could trust the police and we could trust Crown Law. We had Crown Law. We had the Tikanga Society. We had a whole freaking parliament. We've got a whole Supreme Courts of Justice. We've got a Queen. We've got the whole Commonwealth. And we all thought that we could trust them to take care of our corporation, and they're not doing it. And we're never going to let this happen again. We've all got to step up and be the directors of our countries. And we've got to
absolutely right.
Yeah, we're not ever going to let this happen again, ever. So, but I'll put the thing on at the end of my video. Thank you, Kiwi. I will put the thing on the end of my video that people can put a wee bit of money. I know a lot of people are asking for money, but it seems to me that we can't say they all were saying exactly the right thing, and they've all been doing the best they can to help people that are desperate. People have been desperate.
Yeah.
And so you can't say that they're evil. They were all doing their best to help desperate people.
Yep, that's right.
We all have got a different way of doing it, and I shouldn't say that they're wrong, but I'm saying this is the new way that me and our group have come up with. And they tried that way and it doesn't seem to be working. Not really. It seems to be working on a small scale, but I'm thinking we need to go bigger than that. We need to be able to, when we have a common law court case, we can sit around like a group like this, we can have our common law and we can discuss all the things, but when we make our decision that we think that we're correct about that, we then should be able to take our case to the true common law court and have it put in a declaration and have that declaration legally stamped and sealed and given back to us, and that we can use it with our common law groups. So it's no different from what they're already doing. If you're in a common law group, don't give up on that. Stay in your common law group, but learn how to do this, and then go and have your common law meeting like we're having now, and then take it into, when you've made all your decisions why you think that you're correct, then you take that to the proper common law court and you get it recognised in the laws of New Zealand, and you get your stamp of approval. Amen. And you're able to do that. So it's just like, it's the same as what you've been doing, but it's just taking it a little step further.
Oh, I'm not saying that I'm in with the common law people. I'm just saying that I understand the common law groups and their way of thinking about things,
Yeah, but they're all, okay, Diane.
Well, just with the common law, I think the danger being is they give up their birth certificate.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
I think that's
opting out of the corporation. It's the opposite of what Kate, says of the direction of moving forward. I mean, this is not about, getting arrested at a protest or trying to get a parking ticket and things. We are talking about our country. We're talking about, future descendants to go on the 1688. We're the This is the big guns. We're pulling out the big guns. We're not in the common law groups of giving up and trying to get off the grid. You know, because it's just the deception. It's following the Pied Piper to hell, basically, in my opinion.
And practically,
You're right. It's a very good opinion. It is the right opinion.
and practically, our people are losing their inheritance, honestly, which is by birthright. 5, 6, 7, 8 generations.
And they have attached all on to the United Nations as being Indigenous people. And so then you all come through the United Nations through the 1990. And so if there's 100 of you, there's 500 other Indigenous attached to you. And then they're all coming into our corporation. And in our corporation, we're quite happy to pay those 100 people who have been in this corporation for 200 years, even if they've left it, we're still happy to pay. But we're not happy to pay those other 400 that have been attached onto them, Maxine.
Yeah. Turn your mic on. Turn your mic on.
Mike. Maxine.
It's like we're back in 1840 and we're in that process. So hopefully, with what's happened, we can sort of turn a lot of these laws, the 1688 can turn back from where we're sitting at the moment, even a little bit. That's what I'm saying. It just seems we're bringing this. Our ancestors didn't make ourselves subject for nothing.
For no reason.
And this is our protection now.
Yep.
Yeah. Like the intention has been, it's almost like the intention has been done, you know, this, like Kate speaks about the psychological waterboarding is because they know how the human spirit operates, you know, like when you're put under extreme pressure like that, it's a fight or flight situation. So a lot of people looked at avenues to get out of the corporation. This is my way out. This, you know, so you're not thinking in that right space. You know, you're not allowing that space because people have gone off onto these little groups and they're fighting this and they're fighting in that corner and
it's fear-based.
Fear-based. You can't make good decisions in that fear-based reality.
Yeah, and this, you got to remember that the fear base has been carefully manipulated onto us throughout the last century, you know, like television, radio, all designed to keep us in fear. And these people are letting the fear take over and trying to find a way out of that fear through common law. But they are unfortunately probably putting themselves into more fear.
Yeah, they've been misled into a trap, really.
You never. Here's the truth. I'm sorry that you have to hear this truth. But once those 3 Bibles were written, the Torah, the Quran, and the Peshitta of the Catholic Bible, once those 3 Bibles were written into law, we had to get it to corporation. In a utopian world, we could all live free. But once they wrote those laws, you can't escape it. You are always born into a corporation. You're always into one of those 4 corporations. And if you're not in one of those 4 corporations, you go into the United Corporations. Every single living person is in a corporation. You're born into it. But if you're born into the Protestant corporation, we, under the common law, are allowed to, we own all our lands together and we are able to manage it on our own. If you're born into the Catholic corporation, their leaders manage it for them, and they're not allowed to call them to the whatever. If you're under the Islamic, their leaders manage it. They're not allowed to. If you're under the Jewish, their leaders manage it. They're not allowed to. If you're under the Protestant, we're allowed to own our corporation outright. We're allowed to manage it, and we're allowed to go and call them out in a court of law. So that's the difference. If you're in the United Nations corporation, they organize small groups of that race. So they'll organize a group of Pacifica race, and Maoris go into that group. They'll organize a group of all the African countries race and Islamist race, and they'll organize a small group. And they've already said it in the AI law. If that group decides that that is something that they would like for their particular group of people, then that will be taken to be that all people of that group would be happy with that situation. So that's how that's how the United Nations does their one. Each lane has got a different way that they do things. They're trying
So
to
there's 5 lanes.
The American lane is a lane unto itself.
So there's 6 lanes.
There's 6 lanes.
Yeah.
There's Catholic, Jewish, Islamic, Protestant, which comes under Christian as well.
Yeah.
Although the Catholics and the Jewish, they're all trying to tag on to that as well. They want 1 foot in each corner, but they want us controlled. They're always trying to get us back in their lanes, but we don't want to be in their lane. So, so then you've got the Protestant Christian lane, and then you've got the United Nations lane, and then you've got the American lane where you go under inalienable rights. And they have completely left the United Nations, and their American Indians own their own land, just like our New Zealand Maori own their entire country. The American Indians are permitted to own their own states, and they've got their own Indigenous rights only for American Indians, and their American Indians were not put into the United Nations like they did to ours, sneakily. We're going to get that now.
Why was that?
Oh, that's a whole nother video. Let's not talk about, but come back and talk to me about that. So there's 6 lanes. Come on, let's pay attention. Now, what is the next thing in our corporation that we have said to them that we're unhappy about in our waiver? So then we went down here and we said to them, they said to us, so you go here and it says here, tell us about the fee. So this first fee is just the application fee. There's 3 fees. It says, are you applying for the fee to be waived? And I've said, yes. I've said, oh, I didn't click it. Oh, no. Oh, well, hopefully they'll see it. So I said, waive the fee. And it says, confirm your application status. I have not previously applied for a fee waiver. And then it says, tell us why you want the fee waived or refunded. And so I've said that this fee relates to a proceeding that is in the matter of the public interest, is what I've said to them. So in the matter of the public interest, all right? And then, so it says, if it's in the matter of the public interest, it says, go to step 5. So if it's not in the matter of public interest, if they're doing it, if you're in one of the groups and you want to go, you should have money prepared so that if you don't get the waiver, you need to, if you really, really believe in something, you need to be prepared to pay for it if you have to. So, but for this case, we're applying the waiver, so we can skip step 4. And then we go right directly down to step 5. So it says us, please tell us why your case is a matter of genuine public interest. So they've said, we want you to clarify your laws, and which I already told you about that. And then you go to step 6. And in step 6, they will say, tell us why the proceeding needs to move forward before this form is processed. So they said, So we said, just move it forward anyway. So I've had to give them reasons. So here are my reasons that I've said. Justice delayed is justice denied. So we're saying that if you delay our justice, we're not getting a fair shake of the leg. So do not delay our justice that we're seeking. The subjects, which are Protestants, because we're using the Protestant lane, may have arms for their defense. Now, in America, they're permitted to bear arms. Bear arms mean that they're not allowed to take their government, the individual is not allowed to take their government to court like we are, because they don't own their corporation. Their people, their bosses own their corporation, which is different to us. They're allowed to bear arms, which means they're allowed to have guns to protect themselves. But our defense is that we're permitted to go to the court and take the government to court as an individual. And they've been stopping us from doing that. So I'm saying that they're taking away our arms of defense by stopping the common law people from going to the court, is what I'm saying. So I said the subjects, which are Protestants, may have arms for their defense. The only arm of defense is the demand of their rights to be urgently asserted in a high court of law against the tyranny of Parliament. We're saying the exercise of a pretended power of suspending laws, which means that they have been ignoring our imperial laws for a very long time. And that can be equated to suspending our law without our permission to do so. We have said the Parliament is psychologically waterboarding the public with law. It means they just keep throwing laws at you, here, there, more laws, lockdown, stand up, sit down, wear masks, don't wear masks, homosexuality in the schools, Pēr Pua, 3 Waters, Marsden Point, all these laws. It's a psychological waterboarding, and the people have become very confused. And what was that word that we used before?
Duress.
The duress.
Coerced,
People are
duress.
people are making decisions under duress, and they're attacking police because they're under so much duress, or they're making videos threatening parliamentarians because they're under duress, and they're getting prosecuted for that. But why are
A
they
guy
under
was shot in Kaipoi on Saturday night.
What happened?
On Saturday night, a guy got shot by the cops just around the corner from home. He threatens. He had a steel bar and a knife apparently, and he threatened somebody. Didn't hurt them, but he smashed the windscreen of a cop car. So they tasered him and pepper sprayed him, but they reckon it didn't work. And then they shot him 6 or 7 times. And he wasn't even being a direct threat to anybody, you know, like he had only threatened the person. He never actually hurt the person who got threatened. And then the cops got involved and instead of de-escalating the situation, escalated the situation. And then next thing you know, this poor fella is shot up in critical condition in the hospital now, with quite a few bullets in him. And you know, it's all got to be you know, in some small part related back to what has happened to us over the last 2 or 3 years.
Mental health.
It is. People are at breaking point, and that's why I'm going to the court. People are at absolute breaking point, and they just can't take it anymore. One guy in a private Zoom meeting had threatened Jacinda Ardern, and he's been dragged into the court. They've got police beating people up in their homes, and quite frankly, the taser should be enough. When you taser someone and you pepper spray them, I don't believe that it doesn't work. And you can see that their hands have got no guns.
Yeah.
You know, the police, you know, so I don't want to get too much into that, but exactly that all these things are happening because people are under extreme duress in New Zealand. You may not be all of, you know, you may have a house, but a lot of these people have lost their jobs, they've lost their communities, and they're just all these common law groups where that they've been telling people to leave the birth certificate. Most of them are actually genuine people that are just trying, they're under duress. They've seen the people under duress and they're trying desperately to help them. And so you can't be criticizing them for that. But I'm not saying their way is not good, but I'm saying here's another way that you can use as well. But they're all under duress. So yes, I've said that. That's exactly right. So that's why I feel that I need to do this for my country. You know, I'm over here in Thailand and I'm very peaceful and I have a happy life, but I just can't stand to see my country. You know, people, when I'm seeing my fellow countrymen with blood streaming down their faces, with law enforcement people with tattoos all over their arms, you know, people built very largely beating up on old men, beating up on women. When I'm seeing women having their heads shoved into the ground, police, 5 police on them with their knees on their head, I'm in tears over here. And so I just couldn't sit by and let that continue. No, and I will not. So let's move on. So I said psychologically waterboarding the public with law. I've said the laws are changing daily and the public seek a certainty in their law. They don't want laws that are going to change every 5 minutes. I showed 3 cases to the court where the government had made a crappy law. The people had gathered up that what little money they had, got in a lawyer to go to the court. Halfway through the court case, the government changed the law to be something different, and the court case was an absolute waste of time. And it was basically said, yes, you are right, but it doesn't matter anyway because the government changed the law. And what has basically happened is the government have learned, so they're using law as a weapon against you. The government have learned that if they make a law, it's going to take you at least 3 months to get it into the court. And then they've got a few weeks, they can calculate from the court date when the ruling's going to come. And 2 weeks before the ruling, they freaking change the law on you. That's using law as a weapon against you when it shows that they knew damn well that the law was illegal in the first place. They decided to just put it on the public and then fix it later, just to see if anyone's going to say anything. When they see that you do, then they go and fix it. Now that's not the right way to govern our company that we own.
Which is the reason why that everybody thought that they won.
Everybody thought that they won. They put out news. That's right. They put out news articles and said, we won. But you didn't win. They changed the law to what it should have been 2 weeks earlier. So the court said, yes, you were right. So you did kind of win. But you only got it because they quickly changed the law before your court case. And so therefore, since they did that, you have no right to go and get compensation or anything. So it's just, you know, it's a game that they're playing, and it's not the way that they should treat people. So I've said that we are looking for more certainty in our law. Parliament is making irreversible laws that are repugnant to their oath and the cabinet manual. They're signing us up under section KII to be bound to any international instrument forever. Those laws of the United Nations are forever. Now, let me tell you something about the all constitutions. They're not usually forever documents. The 1688 is a forever document, but you can leave your birth certificate and you can renounce it. But you automatically go into the United Nations and you can never renounce it. So you're buggered. So if you're in the Jewish religion, you can renounce the Jewish, you can actually go to the court and get a declaration under the 1688, and you can put yourself under the Protestant protections. And because the penalty for leaving the Jewish religion, the Catholic religion, and the Islamic religion is death. That's the penalty. So the 1688 has got a law that you can go to the court and get a declaration to leave that religion and not be, not come under that law that you can be killed. So you can do that, and that's why we have it for them. So even the Islamists can come and put themselves under these protections.
That's
But,
interesting. That's
yes,
interesting.
yes. So that's why they created it for them. But you can leave it any time that you want to. But if you choose not to leave it, it's a forever document for those people that choose to be in it. And so that means that no government can ever take it away from you.
Nice.
And the cabinet is talking about taking this away from you and replacing it with the United Nations law. And that's what we want to stop. We're saying, no, that's against the oath. So populist policies have divided our nation to critical violent levels, where when we pay our taxes into our corporation, it's for all the people in the corporation. When they take those taxes and they give it to only one group, and the group that paid those taxes is not entitled to it, that's called a populist policy. And many governments do this so that when they want to win elections, they go to those groups and they say, oh, we gave you 1 million. Oh, we gave you 2 million. And they collect all those groups together and they say, you vote for us. That's called a populist policy. And by that, you can never win against any government. And in the beginning, it looks really good because you're getting money for your group. But eventually it becomes pear-shaped because it's only, they decide which groups that they're going to use. So you might be the favorite group now, but next year you might not be the favorite group. Another group might be. So you see, if you're not in the favorite group, you're only good in this as long as you're the favorite group. So that's called a populist group. And it's called ruling by division, and it's illegal under our corporate law. It's illegal. So I'm saying that to them. This is why they said I'm unintelligible. I think I'm intelligible. Can you understand me?
I think you're intelligible.
I'm fucking intelligible.
Oh, you are intelligible, my sister.
Oh, yeah, and I'm popular too. Right, so I am. And so I said that there is a speedy implementation of arbitrary laws that has distraught the public. The public are very distraught. And that came back to that law changing that I said to you, and that what Brent was just talking about, that people have become so distraught that they're attacking the police. They're attacking the parliament. When you see a country that is attacking its parliament, attacking its own police, when you see them doing that, they are distraught and in desperation and under duress. And it's been caused by these governments. So people are standing at the Governor General gates in desperation, thinking that that is the way to make sense of their world. And because they didn't know that, because they've been blocked from going to the courts, which is illegal, which I'm going to fix that for you. The people are being beaten on the steps of the parliament. And I'm going to send pictures of the bloody people to the courts. I haven't done it yet because I'm waiting for them to answer. But when I do, I will be sending all these pictures of the bloody faces to the courts. And then I've said to them, the blood is flowing. And Brent has just told me about that very sad story about the poor man that is fighting for his life because he was under such duress that he has actually attacked a police car and smashed the police car. And the police have decided that their freaking window is more important, is worth killing a man over. over their fucking, I can't even talk about it because I'll be in tears if I do, and I'm not supposed to be crying because I have to be strong for you in New Zealand. Now I'm not going to cry. But when they're saying that their window that they can fix, because that fucking police window is paid for by us. So should our people lose their life over a window that they have paid for? I don't think so. Those guns are not supposed to be used for people that are damaging property. That's not when you use those guns. You use those guns when somebody has got a gun in their hand and they're shooting at you.
Yeah.
That's when you use those guns. Not, you don't shoot someone because they broke a fucking window.
Right.
You know, you don't. And so the blood, I'm saying the blood is flowing in the streets of New Zealand. And I've said to the appeals court, SOS. Now, the person that signed the order, hang on.
Take away the SOS, Kate.
It's already
Oh,
in, so
right.
you can't, it's in there. It's done.
Oh,
So it is done. So hang on. I want to show you one more document, which I had sent them the wrong document, but so this document so my notice of appeal, I had sent them the wrong document, and luckily for me, the correct document, they sent it to me, and that one was already stamped by the court. Is it on there? No. Sorry.
It's quite interesting if we
Where's
were
that
to
one
video.
with Cos's signature on it? Where
Oh,
did we
you've
get
got-
Cos's signature?
in your email. But if you were to film us, it's like we're trying to do this, and we're like the Benny Hill show in many. Like it took us 3 tries to bloody send their email. It's like, if anyone were to watch us, we think we're going to try and help save New Zealand, and yet if you were to watch us, it's like, fuck, if we do, it'd be a miracle, an absolute miracle. But we won't give up.
It's definitely the Benny Hill show, isn't it? I can't find it.
Benny Hill was funny.
Yeah, well, it's
find
very
that
funny.
document.
It's very funny, some of the things we get stuck in, and then bloody, on the day that we only got a couple of hours before we serve. I don't know how we get through.
We had only we had 2 hours to get it served. We sent the wrong one, and luckily down at the appeal court they told us that we had 2 hours left, and they had that document ready. Well, we had like 4 hours. We contacted them. We had 4 hours to get it in. They had that document ready for us in 2 hours, but we sent the wrong one to service, and they kept not answering me. And I was thinking, why aren't they answering me?
3 times you sent it.
We sent it 3 times, but it was the wrong one every time. I was thinking, why aren't they answering? I was talking to Maxine, so there's something wrong. And I said, and then the High Court said, don't worry about it. You've got another 8 days. Don't worry about it. And Maxine said to me, don't even trust them, Kate. And I called them up and they said, no, it's got to be filed. Oh, no. Then we got it filed and we sent it 3 times. It was the wrong one. And then I said, I'm just going to contact them again And I contacted them again and they said, you're sending the wrong one. You've got to send this one. And then I sent that, and there was only like 2 hours left and it would have been done. There was only like 2 hours left. And then immediately that we'd sent it, we got a letter straight back from Crown saying, we've got your notice of filing and we will be in touch. And I knew it had been sent, wasn't it, Max saying, boy. So that's going to be the end of this, but I can't find the cause bit, but they were signed by I'll do another video on that. But I'll put up this one here to show everyone if they want to donate, because if anyone wants to donate, I do have to pay $2,700 for the first court case, and I paid $500 myself as well, because I had not, and I don't expect anybody to put that amount. I know that's a very lot, but I mean, even $20 helps if a lot of people put in $20. But I know unfortunately, there's a lot of people doing this. And so people have donated so much already, and I feel sorry for them. If you feel like you've already donated, you don't have to. But and I can pay this and I will pay this. But I'm not a rich person, but I will do this for my country. But if you've got a wee bit spare and if you haven't put into other groups already, and you feel like you want to put into this group, then please go ahead. But don't go breaking yourself. I don't want anybody. I realize that New Zealand people are already under enough stress, and everything that I'm doing is done freely and lovingly and not expecting anything from anyone. So, all right.
And
so
thank you very much.
I like to say thank you for putting this up, sister, because it gives us an opportunity to be able to koha to you and to this greater cause, darling. And I've got a lot of people,
Followers.
Yeah, I don't like to call our whānau followers, but yeah.
Whānau.
Well, people that we love. A lot of people that we love.
Sister.
Yeah, and all those people that are already doing the common law stuff, I'm not discounting what you're doing. I'm just adding to it. Yes. I'm just saying, here's an extra thing that you can do besides what you do, because that's all we're sitting around doing. We're all just sitting around having a common law court here on Zoom, and then we're just taking it that one step further. So,
how I see it, darling, is you're actually opening up the doors for them to be able to do what they do. There's a lot of things they do that I approve and don't approve. But hey, you're opening up those doors, so that's why I appreciate you putting up
they have done many years of hard work, and everything that they're doing, a lot of it I've learned from them. So I didn't just turn up yesterday and get all this on my own. A lot of it I've gotten from them, and then now I'm giving something extra that they can get from me as well. So I've got a lot from those groups, huge amount. And so everything they've been doing has been correct, but it's not their fault, because the courts have been blocking them. That is a fact. But the only thing that I've done is I wanted to know, why have we got all these things that say that we can go, and how is it that you're saying that we can't go? And so I just went deeper and have managed to rethink it, what they've already been doing. And I'm going to challenge that in the court. We didn't win it yet. It may be that the court will say exactly what they're saying, and maybe that we will not get progress. Yes, Brenty.
Bye.
Did you open up that door?
Oh, bye, Brent. All right.
I'm gonna go to sleep.
Yeah. All right. Good night, dear.
Night.
Right. Love very much.
Good night,
Bye-bye. All right,
I'm wondering if it's going to cause a lot of these ones in the common law groups high stress.
Right.
Our discussion about the birth certificate,
Minutes.
and then
Oh,
I'm thinking there has to be a reason that all happened and the amount of people, and I reckon that there will be a reason for the positive side of this whole bloody mess we're in, and it may be that it could be turned back if anyone would be worried or
well,
stressed over
yes.
that.
Yeah, as long as they know that there's an ounce.
I'm going to be going to the court to find out. I think we'll do that in another video. I think we need to do a whole video on that. So we can have discussions later. I want to finish up this video. So
Okay.
I just want to put up my sign here, and then we'll finish up this video, but we can carry on discussions after I finish up this video. But I think we do need to do, what have you got up there on the share? I've got the wrong one, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, it was the right one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So can you see that on the screen? And it says on there, so it's saying on there, CM Waterman and ASB New Zealand, Miss CM Waterman, take that bit out.
Yeah, you don't need, yeah.
Oops. Oopsie. All right, there you go. So there you go, Kate Floss, and then you've got ASB New Zealand, and then you've got Caitlin CM Waterman, Caitlin Marie Waterman. I've got a lot of names, but don't worry about that. And then it's got my, there's a reason for all of them, but don't worry about that because you can always see what I'm doing. You can see I'm in the courts and you can see what I'm doing. And there's the money in not the money, there's the number 12-3167-0101130-50. And so if you want to donate to Kate Floss, you can donate to Kate Floss. But I'll just tell everybody the truth. When I get the donations, if I need to use it for something that I'm using it, then I will use it. I'm quite old. I don't want to be obligated to anyone. And I might just use the money to go and buy myself a box of chocolate and a bottle of perfume. Or I might even go and buy myself a beer if I was drinking beer, but I'm not. So just because if you donate the money, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to go towards that. But I really and truly do have this $2,700 bill that I really and truly do have to pay. And so money, whether you give it to me or not, I've got to pay that. So if you give me the money, it'll probably sit in my bank. And then I've got the $2,700. I've already ordered it from my husband's retirement fund, and I'll take that and pay it. And then the money that you give me, I'm going to go and buy myself something nice.
Nice.
Good on you. But not only that, Kate, you're giving us history lessons. So we've been paid for history lessons. Not only that, you've paid for subscriptions for your Zoomies. You've paid for all sorts of things. So.
I had to buy the computer. The computer itself was $3,000 just for the computer. So yeah, I do provide a lot of equipment.
Yes, you do.
Your time away from your son?
Your
time away from your son?
I'm away from my son, and I have paid for the YouTube subscription. I've updated it, but I still don't know how to use it, but Sharon's helping me with that. So I have paid for that, and I have paid for the YouTube. She's not helping me with that. She's not. She was going to help me with that. But we've paid for it, but we just don't know how to use it. So someone will come. And so I do pay for quite a lot of things. And even if I'm not paying for something, I do put up a lot of videos with a lot of information. And I do get that information off other people who have also put up information. So I do take that, they take mine and I take theirs, but I do take time to make, our videos. I check in with everybody. I see if you're okay. So I'm doing a lot of work here. So I should be allowed to buy myself some chocolate.
And it's all about balance, isn't it?
Yes,
No, you've
so I
got to
don't
treat
think you're getting
yourself.
cheated out of anything.
No.
No.
No. So I'm going to stop this video and then we can just chat as we please.
Cool.
A smile.
Also.
Hurry
Did
up.
it stop? It's not stop.
Hate
It's paused.
these. Is it done?
Look like a rag doll, but anyway.